I'm Kevin McReynolds from St. John's College High School in Washington, D.C. And I'm going to take y'all through a spin of my life through the recruiting process. When I started playing football, it was probably in third grade. Looking back on it now, I have some tremendous memories of that year. You know, we made it to the playoffs, first round of the playoffs, and it was rewarding to me because, you know, it taught me a lot of how to play in a team.
Kevin's been playing Pop Warner, Pee Wee football since he was about, what, 8, 6, 7 years old. And so we saw the potential even back then of his just love of the sport.
When I kind of fell in love with it was probably 5th grade because, you know, I watched NFL, I watched college, you know, I watched all that stuff, and you know, I felt like I was just as good as other people. You know, I always wanted to be the best, and I still want to be the best, and that's that drive that pushes me to be better. And you know, I've also had some coaches and trainers along the way that have helped push me that direction.
I first met Kevin back in 6th grade. He started being our water boy shortly after that. He did a fantastic job at that. Very enthusiastic, very dedicated. And that continued throughout his high school career as well. He's always been a hard worker, but he's very personable. He does a great job managing situations. He does a great job certainly with the recruiting process as far as just being able to keep things in perspective.
The process for me of the recruiting, it's been crazy. You know, now when I'm in my official visits, you know, I travel. My travel schedule is very hectic, and you know, also just the stress of just the whole process is rough.
Surprisingly, Kevin had a good grasp of it, of the recruiting situation early on. He knew what he wanted to do. He knew what schools that he wanted to be a part of, and he knew what it took to get into their eyesight. He constantly went on and researched the schools, and he knew what schools were, what conferences, and he knew which was the strongest conferences, and he did a good job.
I think that for Kevin, the hardest part is going to be just narrowing it down and just the timetable of it. We play a lot of our games on Saturdays, so it really affected him as far as getting his official visits in. So just the fact that he has to fit his official visits into a small time frame going right up to signing day, I think is the toughest part.
On my trip to Syracuse, you know, I was really excited to go, and as soon as I got there, there was tons of snow on the ground. You know, I think they landed the plane with about 2 feet of snow on the ground, which was, I don't think I've ever been in that before, and it was definitely cool, you know, to see, you know, being on a plane coming in snow. You know, they don't do that in DC. You don't do that in DC. They'll shut the airport down if there's an inch of snow on the ground. What I experienced on my visit to Syracuse was, you know, the Carrier Dome. Got to watch the Syracuse basketball team play against Colgate. I also got to watch them and experience a whole practice. You know, I really don't ever get to see that from many schools, but, you know, it was great for me because I got to see how coach coached. And, you know, that's great too. You want to see how a coach coaches, you know, his players and coaches them up, and, you know, what he knows about the game, and, you know, how he goes about things. Because ultimately, there's 2 people I'm going to spend the most time with, my position coach and, you know, the strength coach. And, you know, you want to get to know those 2 people. UCLA was tremendous. You know, both of my visits were tremendous. You know, they're both extreme differences between UCLA and Syracuse. One being the extreme, you know, cold and snowy, and one being beautiful California, where, you know, everybody's wearing shorts all the time. But, you know, at the same time, you know, I can't look at those things as far as making my college decision. You know, I have to look at best academics, best help for me, you know, where I'm gonna get the best degree I possibly can, where I can play. You know, I can't look at what jersey styles they have. I can't look at all that flash.
Well, what's impressive is that he knows where he wants to be after football. So many people who want to go on to the NFL, for example, they can't think past the NFL or they can't think past college. And Kevin really, when we go and visit college campuses, he typically asks the right questions about their business schools. And he knows where they rank in the country. And so he is looking at life after football as well.
At the end of the day, I have to look at where I'm going to be happy if football ended tomorrow. If I got hurt on that field doing what I love to do and I could never play football again, I would have to be somewhere where I would feel comfortable living the next how many years I had left. Because that's what's most important to me, is making sure I get my degree and I'm happy where I am.